Next, another example from basic numeracy. And I've talked about this in other sessions in Module 2, that there is an order in which you have to acquire things in basic numeracy. You have to have a concept of number, you have to know how to count, then you can do addition, then you can do subtraction, then you can do multiplication, and then you can do division. And it's not really possible to take them out of that order. Each one is a portal which opens the possibility of doing the next one. And if you've got no concept of number to begin with, then you've got absolutely no chance. And similarly, if you don't know how multiplication works, it's extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, to make sense of division. So these things too are, you could pretend that you know all about this. You could learn your multiplication tables off by rote, but you wouldn't be able to use them in any meaningful sense. Third one, some of the research has been from looking at teaching economics at university. And one thing which is very difficult for economics students to grasp in their first year at university, but it's critical they should, is the nature of price in economics. The price of an object has nothing to do with the cost of its production. If you cling on to that, you're stuck as far as economics is concerned. You can't go anywhere. Price is a function of supply and demand. And that's it. That's the whole story. But, as we shall see later, the difficulty about that is that this is contrary to common sense. I mean, I remember having a big argument with the Zenith Windows a few years ago, because they've got a strange marketing strategy. They came around and measured up and quoted me some stupid price, like about 12,000 quid for doing our terrace house, which after all is only front and back, no side windows. He said no thanks, and we're going to get some other quotes. And then they rang up a few days later, and mysteriously it was 10,000 quid, and then it went down to 8,000 quid. Eventually they were offering to do it for 3,000 quid. And I said, I'm not going to have anything to do with the company which their pricing policy is obviously has no relation to how much it costs to produce the goods in the first place. But in saying that, of course, I betrayed the fact that I'm not an economist, because the price of something is what it will sell for, and that's the whole story. But stepping away from this common sense understanding that it all depends on how much it costs to produce is moving a sort of risky territory. The ground seems to get shaky under your feet. I mean, I knew how you could cost double glazing if I looked at it in the other way, but now I'm moving something which is all relative, and if the cost of oil goes up, then such and such goes down. So economics students often find it very difficult to step away from that, and one of the tricky things that the economists in the studies found was that part of their problem is how do they assess whether students have really got it or whether they're just going through the motions. Because anybody can say in an exam, and it says price is defined by, and you can write, oh, relationship between supply and demand, because you learned that out of the textbook. But I don't actually believe it. So the problem of getting people really to believe it, or to know that they really do believe it, is important for you to go on. Another one, there's some study from Coventry University about therapy or occupational therapy students, I can't remember, learning about caring. And that sounds woolly, if I'm all honest. It's not really a concept. But what the author of the article says is that until they've actually been out on placement and experienced interacting with the client in a professional way, but for the sake of the client, that is, caring in a professional sense rather than just a sort of emotional sense, then until they've got hold of that idea and know what's involved, and the business about managing social distance and managing the extent of your emotional involvement, and how much do you help somebody to do something or insist that they do it themselves, all of those kinds of dimensions, and how do you position yourself in order to be able to manage those in the moment. Until they've really got a grasp of that, all the theory which we teach them is going to be a load of rubbish, because it's not going to connect. It isn't founded and grounded in experience. Circuits. Those students, before they had their class on electrical circuits, had a basic intuitive, fairly intuitive understanding that you needed a light bulb, you needed 2 wires, and you needed a battery, and you had a circuit, and you can make the light bulb light up. After the class, they got so much extraneous information that they were totally confused. They didn't know whether you had to have a switch or not. The bulb holder suddenly became a key feature. Well, it's totally irrelevant. And in another example, after the graduation ceremony, some mechanical engineers, they protested, they weren't electrical engineers from reality, oh Lord, were trying to make the connection and create a circuit between the bulb and the battery with only 1 wire. So there was no way in which they could make the complete loop called the circuit. But the problem was that they hadn't really understood the principle of the circuit, that break the circuit and the bulb goes out, complete the circuit and the bulb will light up. Very, very simple principle, but all that the teaching served to do was to confuse them. So you could say that they hadn't really got the threshold concept in the first place of the basic pattern of a circuit. And what the curriculum had done is confuse them by stuffing in, and Myron Land and others in this field talk about the stuffed curriculum, whereby we're continually under pressure from validating bodies and goodness knows who to put more and more stuff into the curriculum and to teach all of it at the cost sometimes of missing out on the really important stuff that makes a difference. And their strategic point, of course, is to say, forget about a lot of the extraneous stuff. What you need to concentrate on is this, because if they get this, the rest will fall into place and it'll be easy to learn. If they don't get it, there's no point in trying to teach the rest of it, because it won't happen. Let's try and put or some of this together in a concept map. And as I made the point, they are discipline specific. That's to say, they're characterised by belonging to a particular discipline.